We have a wonderful collection of cloth dolls by Martha Chase to present in our Soirée catalog. The dolls are all from the collection of Carolyn Guise of Dayton, Ohio, but originally from Rhode Island itself, where is the very state where the dolls were made by Martha Chase some 100 and so years earlier. Martha Chase lived in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and she was a seamstress by trade and eventually started to try to make dolls that she felt would counteract the European dolls that were coming in. They would not be breakable. They were not luxury-minded. They really represented children, and there's something a child could carry around, could play with, could wash, could bathe entirely. These were the concepts that she was looking for. And she started to design a series of them, and they started to be sold by department stores in Boston and New York and Philadelphia, became very popular, the Martha Chase dolls. They all have a shaped head with a very hardened head, painted complexion, sculpted hair, except for one I'm going to show you in a minute, and with a very, very stylized type of painting to the hair that is known as the impasto style, and I'll show you that in a moment also. I have this little group up here because her forte, her main things she did were child dolls, small child dolls for children to play with. She made them, as you can see, in a variety of sizes, all with oil-painted, hand-painted faces and the impasto-style painted hair. And so let me just turn this one around while we're at it and show you what I mean about the impasto painted of the hair. The painting was so thick on the hair as to create actual comb marks or tendrils, and the thicker it is, the more desirable that is considered to be on a Martha Chase doll. You can see on some of them, I'm going to show you an example here, the actual stitching around the head, which was another part of the way of signifying them. Martha Chase dolls often have a little stamp of a Dutch girl cap on their leg, and which is one of their marks, and very often they're simply not signed at all. I wanted you to see this selection because it's an example of the variation of hairstyles and sizes that you find. And this is the more classically found hairstyle with the impasto painting, tendrils of curls coming onto the head. And you see variations of it in these three. I picked this little fellow. I honestly don't know if he's had some repainting at some time, but I love this face. This has such character. He's absolutely wonderful. Very, very deeply impressed facial features. So even if there had been some repainting, the way it was made is so completely different. It's wonderful. And then I wanted to show you over here. We have the bobbed hair girl with blonde hair. We have the bobbed hair girl with brown hair and even some little side curls coming down. And then we have, very, very hard to find, very seldom ever shows up, the blonde girl with side part and bobbed hair. So all different variations that collectors of Martha Chase look to find, these three being quite rare. Martha Chase not only made the child dolls, but she really became respected for a group of character-type dolls that she made, and we have some very, very rare examples from the Carolyn Guise collection. She was such an extraordinary seeker of these wonderful dolls, a member of the Doll Collectors of America and United Federation of Doll Clubs. She really had a keen eye for early American cloth dolls, and particularly those of Martha Chase, because that was her native Rhode Island, so she really appreciated them. One of the very famous dolls done by Martha Chase was her portrait of George Washington, and he's always wearing, or he was wearing when he was sold, and this one is too, having like 3 gold blue ribbons attached to him, wearing the costume that is his signature costume that he has always found. And there's a wonderful book I saw recently at a bookstore called 101 Objects that help describe America, and one of them is a picture of George Washington wearing this very, very precise costume. So grand to find it in it. She also did the doll that was marketed as a black mammy doll. And despite that might be offensive today, that's how it was marketed. It also has a Blue Ribbon Award. And this doll is so impeccably mint. It is absolutely wonderful. This is the original costume standing next to it, the original dress and apron. that it was sold in. And when we undressed it to check for marks and condition, we found her in her original undergarment, two-piece undergarment underneath, and I thought it was so charming. I said, well, let's just show the dress and the people see the underwear that this doll originally wore. Very, very simple, rough edges, and yet so charming. Now here is a rare doll from Martha Chase. Rare for several reasons. Number one, it's a black complexion doll, but number two, look at the hair. It has flocked hair. It has the fleeced or flocked hair. It doesn't have the painted hair. Also another Blue Ribbon Award, by the way. And wearing a wonderful costume, painted facial features that are absolutely quite charming. Now, she also did a line of dolls that seem to have had some basis in storybook tales. Here we have this wonderful bald-headed gentleman with the painted side locks, and it's very interesting because in looking at him, you can see the seams of the head, how really tightly these heads were stuffed, and then they were finished so their shape would hold. Stitched-on ears, wonderful painted features, another rare example. And then this fellow, which I really love because this is like a younger man, and he sort of looks like he's heading out on the golf course, and how he was costumed, I don't know if it's original costume or not, certainly is old. And he has this wonderful side-parted hair, his very, very elegant hair, and I want to turn it to the side so you can see his profile, which is very, very different. Really a pronounced nose and a pronounced chin. Quite unique. Very rare example from Martha Chase. And finally, Carolyn Guise had 4 rare lady dolls. And when I show you, you'll see why it was so remarkable. Now, the first one she has is really the child doll known as Little Nell with her blonde hair. And when I turn her around, look what you're going to see. 2 sculpted pigtails. But the painting of her face is really so fine. Beautiful complexion, shaded details, absolutely wonderful. Now, we have another doll, and in this one, Carolyn Guise was able to find the doll. It does have, yes, it has labels on both sides, with its original label, which is so important. And here you're able to see the original sateen body. Something very unusual about this one is it has a molded bosom, and this was absolutely done in the factory. Before they stitched the shoulders together, they put a little shape in her upper bosom to give her a distinctive look. Now, you think if though that's not enough, wait a minute, I'm going to turn around and show you the back of the head. Check it out. Double chignons. Now, maybe you have, but I had personally never seen those before. And then we're going to come back around again. You're going to see again the wonderful painting of the face. Very, very great details and little stippling of the hairstyle around curls around the forehead, which is very fine. So far we have the braids and we have the double chignons. But wait, there's more. We then have this wonderful lady with sculpted hair, 3 ringlet curls, 3 or 4 ringlet curls, shaped, very well defined, at each side of the face, and then a very tightly wound little braid, or little chignon, at the back of the head. She has a fabulous costume, by the way. And when I turn her around, you're going to see how highly stylized her facial painting is. And look at the little curls that come onto her forehead, stippled curls. Very, very rare, very different, and like in virtually mint condition. And speaking of mint condition is the 4th of the lady dolls from Martha Chase. What a find to have all 4 of these at one time. Also with brown hair, although a different shade of brown, like a lighter brown. This has, the lady we just saw seemed to have more gray in her hair. And she has curls looped low on the sides of her face. She has brown eyes. She has little curls on the forehead. And when we turn her around, look at that very, very thick, flattened, coiled bun at the back of her head. Very, very different. So if I can find a way that I can hold all, well, certainly of the three ladies, I can hold all of them at one time, you can maybe see their differences quite pointedly. And now I'm going to show you from the face, holding them all together. I'm a great believer in, I go back and forth. I'd love to see a doll that has had a life and its history is written on it, and so it does have some wear and fading. And then sometimes I love to see a doll that is, this is how it was sold in the store 120 years ago. And I think that's so remarkable. I guess I love both of them. But what I really love, I love to see people who want to treat dolls as a story, as a piece of history, and understand they're not just objects, but each one of them carries a little bit of our past and gives us a story and a way to look toward the future. And certainly the Dolls of Martha Chase and reading her life story and reading about her dolls helps us in that very much. Thanks very much for watching. I really enjoyed doing this, and I hope you enjoy seeing the dolls. Bye.